Thanks for taking time to participate in this continuation video covering some UFT Web related topics. I provided some helpful hints in my previous video on the subject of web recording failures. In this video, I want to proceed on with demonstrating two scripts generated to test navigating through a web application called Advantage Online Shopping. The app is designed to challenge a test tool like UFT. My plan in this demo is to briefly cover post-install setup requirements, walk through the UFT Web record and test processes. I also want to provide a brief overview of the UFT results report process. Join me. I'm here at the UFT One Help Center site provided by the vendor OpenText. They have done a very good job of providing real good information, useful information if you want to be effective and professional with the product called UFT One. But I want to briefly talk to you about something in specific that's at this particular page. Now, this, you can see it's titled Web Add-in, and there are several things here as far as extra software that you can install on top of UFT One. But what I want to get to is a little further down, and it's on the subject of prerequisites. And that's something that I had overlooked and didn't realize it was causing me a problem. But one of the things you have to have if you're going to do web script development, where you're going to record web applications and then test them, well, you need to make sure that you have what's called an extension added to your browser. If your browser is Firefox or Chrome or Edge, or there's several others here, the Legacy Edge, which is Internet Explorer, and Safari, any of those browsers, there is an available extension, and it's called an OpenText UFT Agent extension. There's one for Chrome, one for Edge, one for Firefox, and so on. Each of those, if you're going to use the browser for any recording and testing, you need to have that already installed and activated on your computer. So I'm not going to go any more detail on that, but you would want to look at this and follow the instructions that it gives you here. It's pretty simple, straightforward, nothing complicated about it. And one more thing, go a little further down here, there's another section that's labeled configuration. And there are several areas within the IDE, the UFT IDE, the editor. There are options and settings that you may want to look at a little more closely. You may need to modify them accordingly based on what it is you want to accomplish, how you want to test. One of them, just as an example that I can think of on the top of my head, is as far as what kind of output you want to see. It can come in the HTML format, or they have a traditional tool called the results viewer, and I like that one better, especially for debugging and during the development process of any script. Once that's done and you need to turn output over to a business user, then it's better to use the HTML format. I then like it for that reason. All right, that's enough on that. One more thing, right down here, I'm looking at all of these links here for extensibility and more configuration topics. This is very helpful information. You may also want to take some time and look at that before you try to proceed on with what it is you're going to do in the way of web development using the UFT tool. The topic now is UFT Web recording and testing. I'm going to start with the target application first to show you just a little simple navigation through the application that I want to record in UFT. And I've done this one a couple times now. I want to do it again so that you can see the process if you're not already familiar with it and the challenges that might come along with that. All right, let's start with this application is Advantage, it's known as AdvantageOnlineShopping.com. And so what I'm going to do, I plan to click on this speaker's image and thus selecting it. Then I'm going to scroll down to this manufacturer items and specify that I want Logitech only. And when I do that, then of course I only get one image, that same speaker. I'm going to click on it again. And that takes me to a more descriptive page on the subject and giving me the specifications for that speaker. Well, I'm interested in buying it, so I'm going to click the Add to Cart. So I should then see a number show up. It won't be 0 anymore. It should be 1 to indicate that there now is something in the shopping cart. Now, once I've done that, I want to go to the shopping cart, look at it. I'm hovering over it right now. I'm going to click on it, and then it's going to show me the shopping cart data in more detail. The one last thing I'm going to do is I'm not actually going to go ahead and check out. Instead, I'm going to click the Remove button, and that then will display a page that tells me there's nothing left in the shopping cart, and I can continue shopping. So now I'm back to ground zero, so to speak. All right, so let's close this, and then I'm going to go into the IDE, UFT 1 IDE. All right, before I click the OK button, I just want you to be aware, again, in case you're not, you might be new to the product. Here is whenever you're launching the product, you will find that you're going to come to this particular page as long as you haven't disabled it from the startup process, so that you can identify what add-ins you're going to need. So if I scroll back all the way to the top, there are a number of possible add-ins that I can include in the session when I launch UFT. You don't need all of them. You basically want to check those that you think you're going to need during your testing, your recording and testing process. So I know I'm probably going to need ActiveX. I usually do that for web applications, and I'm not going to need mobile or SAP. I might need the UI automation based on what I've seen so far, so I'm including that one, but not the Pro version. And Visual Basic, I usually always need it for some coding. The web especially. Now there are additional functionality, additional add-ins depending on the particular products. And if you know you're going to be utilizing some of these like jQuery or GWT, things like that, or even Salesforce Lightning is available now. And so I'm going to scroll a little further, And there's one other one that it tells you in the documentation. You'll probably need that one as well for web support. So that's it. That's all I've selected. I'll click the OK button and move on with launching OpenText UFT1. Okay, the product is launched. We're now at the main IDE window, if you will. And you can see that there are several menus on the menu bar. There's also an icon bar. And I'm not planning to give you a training on this. So for right now, we'll probably look at tools, and there may be one other menu option we'll look at as well. So what we want to do is we want to start with a clean slate, and that's basically where we at. And I'm going to record a session instead of looking at one I've already recorded just yet. So we do a File, New, and Test. It's going to be a test. There are several other options I can choose from, but that's not what I need. I need to start with a test. And so then I can give that script a name. And let's say I give it Web. And I know I have a test 1, test 2. Let me just say test 10, just to make sure I don't create one that already exists. And I could tell it to look in a particular solution folder. I don't need to do that. I'm going to change that. Go back up one so that it'll be in this UFT1 folder. That should be simple, straightforward. I'm not giving it a solution name. You can use the solution approach to where you're having multiple scripts in one solution, but we're not going to do that at this point. Okay, and then create. I click the create button, and momentarily it will set up an environment for this new script. And what I have is a window that's blank. This is where the code will appear. I could go back and look at the start page. Not interested in doing that. But I also have what's called the action 1. That's the first block of code that can be recorded or coded. And in my case, I'm going to do a recording. And so the name of it is Web Test 10. As I gave it, it gave that same name to the action. Well, okay. Let's go to up here now. You see it has changed a little bit. You've got some extra menus, pull down, record, run. You had the tools, design, and so on. Well, the record, that's important. You want to be able to go to the configuration and to the settings. I believe they may be already set. This one I have set to high because I want everything that it could possibly record. Every event, if you will. So that's enough on that. Then the record and run settings, I want to make sure it's going to go where I need to go for the web recording. So I could tell it do not record on anything that's already open, and I can tell it to close the browser when the test closes. That's okay. Those are acceptable. I can tell it what browser I want to use, and I'll go ahead and stick with the Edge, and I'm going to specify the URL, which I happen to already have it in there, Advantage Online Shopping. So this was the application we just looked at, and now we're going to utilize that in the recording process. I'll go ahead and click the apply button and then the OK button. And so that should be ready. There's one more thing I wanted to tell you about, the tools and options. I think I mentioned something about this earlier in this video. The GUI testing and the run sessions. When you look at the general run sections, you can specify whether you want HTML reporting or run results viewer, and view results when run session ends. So that's checked. So it's going to automatically produce a report each time we run a test. All right, that's it for the testing part. I could go to the GUI testing, which goes along with web testing as well, and some settings that could be modified if necessary. I'll just click the OK button. So we're pretty much at the point where we're ready to record. I could use the record menu up here and click record, or I can just use the icon bar, and that radio button there is the record. That starts the record. This little arrow button starts an execution of whatever is recorded. All right, let's start recording. So it's going to go to the application. It also creates a little window on the side. And I'm going to navigate through the application like I talked about. So the first thing is to click this speaker image, scroll down. Let's click on manufacturer, and you'll see I'll mention why I'm doing this. I didn't really have to do that, but it's an additional little piece of recording that I think is interesting. Okay, also I should mention to you there is a little record panel here, and there's some other options that can be specified. I can change where the recording code is going, add actions, and so on. But that's for a time when you're getting an education on how to use the tool. Right now, we're just going through a simple record process. Click this image, and now I'm at the more detailed information on that particular item, and I'm going to click the add to cart. When I do that, it's going to increment the shopping cart value. You now see a 1 up there. I'm going to go ahead and hover over that, and now I'm going to click on it, because that should produce what we did the first time, where it shows the checkout information. I could proceed on to checkout, but I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is to click the remove to remove that item from the shopping cart. And there it is. So now I have a window that says it's empty. The shopping cart is empty. I then will click the continue shopping, and that takes me back to the beginning. And I can also now click on the stop button to stop the record process. We do that. That is complete. Now we have code that has been generated. We can see it inside this window, and this is for that action. Now, let's talk about that. So basically, we have a total of 10 lines of code, if you will, and they do something specific, each one of them. We may or may not need everything that was recorded. Because I had at a high level, I have things like a checkpoint, 2 of them right at the beginning. I don't need those. I'm going to comment out those. So now I'm actually down to 8 items. Let's see, do we have everything we need? We have a link, there's that first link, and then there's the manufacturer link, which we expanded, and then we click the checkbox, and so we put it on, and then we have the image that we saw. Once we clicked that, it went down to the one image, which was the speaker. That's what this is. And then we click on the Save to Cart button, and then we are clicking on the shopping cart link, the actual image, and then we have one more, a remove click, and then finally we click the continue shopping button, and we went back to the beginning. All right, let's see what that looks like with execution. Let's start with that, and then we'll go, let me save that. And the way to save it is this first save option. And now we're going to use this little arrow, the run arrow, to start the test. We should see it momentarily go to the application in the browser. And notice here, I have it set. You can change that to what you desire, but my default is to always create a new version of the output. So it starts with Res 1 for the new script, then Res 2 and Res 3 and so on. But you have to remember to keep track of that. Go out to the Windows Explorer and look into that path and remove what you don't want to keep. Okay, I'm going to run. Click the Run button. And as I said, momentarily it's going to switch over to the application. There's the application, and it should start clicking, navigating through the application. There we go. We should be clicking that speaker momentarily. Sometimes it will move fairly quickly, and sometimes because of certain objects and so on, it may not display. And I think what I'm seeing right now is it's going someplace that you did not expect to go. And so it's probably not going to be totally successful, but we'll find out soon enough. Here we are at the empty, but I don't think we ever actually put anything in the shopping cart. And it may still go back to the beginning like it should, because the button is available if it hasn't got. Nope, it shows that it was trying to do the remove. So basically it was behind the process. So it was on line 9 when really it should be on line 10, and line 9 is already gone. So it's unable to click the remove button because it passed it up before the coding process got to it. And I'll show you a simple solution to that. I'm going to stop the process. It closes the browser and brings you back to the IDE. It's going to also show the report viewer. We're not going to go, well, let me just say this real quick. You can expand, and here's all of the actions, events that occurred, and this is where it got to the remove process and failed there. If we click on that, we'll see that it says cannot identify the object. Why? Because it wasn't on the screen. All right, that's real simple problem, and we're going to go ahead and close out this process here. And now we're back in the IDE looking at the code, and the code is very simple. Now I'm going to show you in a new another version, if you will, of this same code. Basically, what I ended up doing was putting in a couple of waits, because sometimes to stay in sync with the process between the navigating through the application and the processing of these statements, they can get out of sync. And so what we want to do is to try to synchronize that. And I'll show you how that happens. All right, so I'm going to once again click the save. Well, it's already saved. I did that. So I'm going to open another version of this same, if I find that without any problem, open, let's see, I think, yeah, open text. And I believe it is this guy here. Bear with me. I hope that I am selecting the right one. And yes, I did. All right. This was the first time that I recorded going after the Edge browser. I had a little different result when I first recorded this application navigation with Chrome. It did not function exactly the same way. For example, lines 6 and 7 you see here has a web checkbox. It recorded an off and an on, which is kind of neat because it then says, well, you really want it on, but I'm going to make sure that it's off so that you can put it on. Whereas I did something different in this with the Chrome version of this script. I actually created a subroutine to manage turning this on or turning this off. So that's kind of neat. And if, well, we don't have enough time for me to show you that one. But notice the waits. A wait here and here and here. So by putting in these waits, it's supposed to help with synchronizing. There's another way to synchronize also, and that's line 17 is to take on a particular page a .sync method will also do that same type of thing to make sure that everything runs properly. Now, one thing that's different from this last record that I did, I don't have the return from the to go back to the first page. So hopefully you understand that it's not quite the same, but for the most part, it's basically the same thing. You can see the remove, and we should be able to see that in sync in this execution. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay. And this is result 3. That's okay. I usually try to manage that, not allow for too many output versions. So here we go. It's starting to navigate to the application and through the application. There's the speaker. There's the speaker again, more detail. And now we did the remove just like we did the add to the shopping cart. And momentarily we should see the output. Excuse me. Sometimes it's set to minimize. Let's see if that's the case. Yes, here we are. It's actually behind the scenes. Sometimes it will pop up before and sometimes it will not. I'm not sure if that's a little bug, but it's there. I'm expanding on it, and here we are. We have the, let's see. Yeah, let me click that remove. So it did see that this time. And we have, let's see, one more. The manufacturer, that was done. So what we see, as long as you don't see any exclamation points or red check marks anywhere, everything ran fine. Because it's normally just giving you a result of done, if we go back to the summary, you can see that that's what it's showing us. If I can expand that, I'm sorry, scroll down to it, you'll see it gives you a summary of what happened and all the steps. It's saying, hey, it's not a pass or fail, it's just done. Everything completed, it was done. All right, that's one way of it saying everything went fine. But there's another way to get passed and failed statuses. And I'll show you that by running yet another version of the software, of the script, sorry. All right, so I'm going to close that. Let's go back to the IDE. And this time I'm going to open yet another script. And this one is the one that I believe is the original. Let me navigate there. And that should be this guy here. Okay. So now in this one, I actually had some extra coding in here. I have a dem statement for a variable that I've defined, and I was going to use that because I was having problems with the remove. It wouldn't detect it, and so I ended up having to do a couple of things. I tried to put in code to actually do what we call XPath locations, and that did not work. And then I also utilized some of the AI capability within UFT. And you can see this AI util, and a UIA object. All of those are AI statements. So I got those recorded and entered into this script to actually get to that shopping cart, as well as this button, the checkout button. And so it's just slightly different than before. I also have let's see, where is that at? Did I pass it up? Yeah. I have a call statement for a subroutine that I named set checkbox. That's what I was telling you before, where I specified to it that I want on, and I'm going to scroll, forgive me, I'm going to scroll all the way down. Notice I also have a close all tabs, which will close the browser more effectively. And here's the subroutine. I'm passing it the browser name or ID and the window name and the object, which is the, go back up here, set manufacturer to, that's the object for that particular field or that checkbox. That's the name of that checkbox. And then the value is on. So if I go back one more time down here real quick, I'm using a method called getROProperty, where it's saying, hey, I want to check and see if that checkbox is selected. If it's selected, then that means it's on. And if it's on, then I don't want to do anything. But if it's not on, then I want to set the value to on. Hopefully you followed that. And then the logic goes on to check, hey, if you tell me to turn it off, then I'm going to check to see, is it on? If it's on, then I'll turn it off. But if it's already off, I'm not going to do anything. Just going to go in and out of the subroutine. Okay, hopefully you got all that, and we'll go ahead and execute this one, because there's one more thing I put throughout, threaded it through the code here. There's a reporter report event statement, and that's where I'm giving it a pass. I could give it a fail, and that way those statuses will show up in the output. You'll see what I mean shortly. Let's go ahead and run this. We're at the application, and we should start the navigation. There we go. This one seems to run a little faster. Excuse me. Except for the remove. And we can see that we had another problem here. The remove did not function correctly. It says object not visible. So it was waiting for that to appear, and it is there, but for some reason, and this is one of the UI or AI statements, and it should have worked. It's worked before. So there's a matter of consistency that we're looking for, and I'll probably have to go through and process this again at another time. Let's just go ahead and stop. I think I'll still get the report output. There's one thing I want to show you there. And let's see if it did appear. Yes. Expand. All right. So we really shouldn't have seen this. We should have seen nothing but these little green check marks. And the green check marks are showing you what I put in there to say, hey, this passed. The manufacturer set process passed. The shopping cart process passed. And it was supposed to show me one more, which was somewhere up in here. It should have also given me a passed status, but it didn't. Instead, we see that at this point, it failed because it's saying that the object that it was looking for, it couldn't find. Basically, that's what it's saying. Couldn't find that particular object. All right. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to stop at this point, let you see that much. I may have another video that I'm going to talk about and show, hey, what did happen there? I don't have enough time to get this out to you and get it resolved quick enough. But I will get this resolved. Thank you. So check out my follow-up demo videos that demonstrate using UFT for recording and testing web applications. The video should be entitled something like UFT Web Recording and Testing.